What's happening?
Hey, Karel.
That was really fun. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It was a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'm excited to dive into some of these questions. I feel like a lot of them are similar in nature, and I can really relate to this because, having worked with musicians over the year, it always impresses me. We sit down and the musicians are just going off and talking about musical theory and, oh, we're going to do this,
Right.
all this chords and here, and then we'll go here. And I always felt like, oh man, this is so embarrassing. I don't know
Right.
what they're talking about. And you do, the more you learn, the easier it gets, but we have to realize, musicians often feel the same. Maybe you can, this is kind of our intro to our Q&A, but maybe you can relate to this, and that because I know you were a musician before you became a singer, like singers and musicians don't have anything in common, but but just the same thing for musicians. If singers start talking about all this technical stuff about singing, I'm sure the musicians feel a little bit lost as well. What
Right.
what, what do you have to say about that?
That's a good question. Well, honestly, I don't know if that would happen as much because usually it's not a room full of singers with a minority musicians. Usually there's a backing band with one singer. So, and as you know, not as many singers are as technically proficient in the vocabulary of their voice.
Yeah,
So,
there's a huge range, and you
yeah,
described that in the live stream as well. You've got some really famous singers um, that are musically, so to speak, illiterate, but they're still making brilliant music.
yeah, absolutely.
The process is quite different and sometimes more tedious.
Yeah. So I've never been usually, you know what, that might happen in a band. Like, say you were in a group of really trained vocalists, like pentatonics or something. So maybe their rehearsal pianist might feel a little bit at odds when they're talking about how to shape vowels or this or that, assuming that's their process. But even that, they wouldn't have a slack rehearsal pianist. So it's probably a little bit more one sided than we'd like to think. It's usually the singer who isn't using the same vocabulary as the band versus the other way around.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I think I'll just take this opportunity to tell everybody, this is a very, very valuable skill, and it really helps you communicate with your band, with your musicians, whether it's your steady band where communication is going to be much better anyway over time, or if you're gigging with different musicians and you got to put things together, and somebody's new's coming in, you want them to sing harmonies and riff here and do this. I mean, it just speeds up the process immensely, and I think the band feels so much more comfortable with you as a singer.
Yeah. Here's an analogy where it would go the way you were saying. If the singer is dictating to the band, "Hey, you sing this harmony, you sing," that's how it would be. It might not be talking about the voice, but I have a friend who's a phenomenal bass player. You look at his resume, it's the top household names, right? When he sings, he gets real timid, you know? So that would be, and maybe this is what you meant and I misread it, but I thought I was thinking more along the lines of talking about the voice and the vocabulary. I wouldn't see that as much, but I would see where the singer, this is a pop star, "Hey, can you sing harmonies of this?" And they're like, "Uh-oh." That's where it is. So it's not so much in the vocabulary that I've seen it, but in the actual act of singing. And that's why everyone's got to sing. That's like your main double. Well, I play upright bass too. That's cool. If and when we need that for the unplugged thing. But I'm a great singer. You're hired. So that's more how I would see the flip flop. Like, every instrumentalist should be a very, not just competent but a strong singer. It's imperative, frankly. So when the singer says, "Can you just sing the harmonies from the record?" and the guys are like, "Oh, geez, Corel," I'll say, "Okay, I'll take the first one." So that's where I see the 2A street. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great that you have that experience and express that to me when we were talking about it. Just it and it's so nice, and I mean everybody is expected to do so many things today. I think people get overwhelmed. Musicians get overwhelmed, they have to sing, or maybe some singers get overwhelmed with having to know more music vocabulary and being able to communicate better with the band. But I just want to comfort people and say this isn't, it shouldn't be overwhelming. You don't need to become an expert. You just need some basic learning. A little bit adds up over time. So don't feel pressure that you have to go out and study like crazy for the next 6 months. If you just apply 15 minutes a day, if for the next 6 months, oh my gosh, you do that consistently, you will transform your ability level to communicate and also what you want to perform.
That's all you need.
Yeah,
Phone, piano,
yeah. My daughter's 4 now. This is funny. People are going to hear this, but yesterday we just had that conversation. I mean, we have so many tools today that just did not exist before. I mean, we have a piano in our phone. My daughter can't imagine not having YouTube or internet or Netflix or a phone or, most of her learnings online. She's like, what? You didn't have this?
People took their families on road trips before iPads were invented.
Yeah, now we just sit in the living room and go on a virtual road trip. All
Yeah.
right, let's dig into our into our questions here. I'm gonna pop this up. What's the best way to practice singing harmonies? Oh, I really need to work on that as a singer. Actually, we already answered that one.